Now, another important part of your water change is putting water back into your tank. When you do that, most of us, I think, are pulling it out of tap water. Sometimes you're going to see people who go by like RODI water, reverse osmosis. General, I think we're using tap. So you're going to want to match that temperature within about 5 degrees to your tank. So let's say your tank runs at 75. I'd go no colder than 70. I really would try to avoid going up to 80-degree water. Try to be within 5 degrees for the most part. Your hand's capable of feeling temperature differences within about 5 degrees. So if it feels about the same by touch, it's likely close to the same temperature. Now, I live in a warmer climate, so my water tends to be above, coming out of the tap, my water tends to be about 70 degrees anyway. So I really don't stress too much about the temperature of water. But it is something to be mindful of, especially if you're in a colder area. If you live in a colder climate, you're in the snow, maybe your water's coming out really cold, that could potentially cause you a lot of issues. So something to be mindful of. In the dechlorinator, 2 ways you can do it. One way is to treat the entire tank, which is what I like to do. So I'm going to put enough dechlorinator in here for the entire 55 gallons of water, and I'm going to put it in directly to the tank. The other option would be just to treat the amount of water you changed. In that case, I would be taking enough of this dechlorinator to do 5 gallons of water, and I would be putting that into the bucket and not into the tank. I prefer to treat the entire tank in general. I think it's simpler, I think it's easier, and I think you're going to get some extra benefits out of it than just necessarily treating the water. So personally, I treat the entire tank, and I feel as a safety measure, it kind of helps me prevent some issues. So this one here being a concentrate, it's an 1/8 teaspoon for what I'm doing. So I am refilling with a bucket. I had my bucket over at the sink. I got it refilled. I use cold tap water. It feels good to me. It's a little bit colder than the tank, but I'm okay with that. I don't think it's more than a degree or 2. So we're fine. I feel comfortable with this. I've put my dechlorinator in the fish tank. So we're ready to go there. The next thing is going to be actually putting the water inside the tank. If I use that water changer hose, that would be hooked up. The hose would be sitting in here and I'd be watching it fill. But this one, we went ahead and did the bucket. So the next thing I got to do is I got to pick the bucket up, go ahead and pour it into the tank. We're going to try to avoid a few things. So you could easily create a stream, a jet coming down and pour too fast and end up completely trashing your substrate. So we're going to try to go slow, not too fast. There's a few different ways you can do that. You can put like a plate or something in here, have the water kind of fall onto that plate to dissipate the water as you're doing your water change. My particular situation, I'm just going to pour it in slow. Never really found it to be an issue. And again, I'm also not super worried if I do stir up a little bit of the substrate. It's gravel, so like I don't care. But I'm just going to be careful and I'm just going to pour. Now, I cannot recommend or condone balancing your bucket on the tank glass. No idea if it's truly strong enough. I know I do it, but I'm careful and I get nervous. So, choice is yours. Yep, and I'm just keeping an eye on it, not going too fast. Pouring it in like this too is actually great oxygenation. It does the same thing that like an air stone or a filter, anything that's creating that water turnover. You're helping put some exchange water. You're helping to exchange some oxygen when you do these types of water changes. So. Let me make sure I'm not drowned in my eggs. I totally am. Oh, that one's been underwater though. All right, so there we go. That's it. I'm gonna make sure I put my lids back on. Close everything up. Clean up after yourself and it's done.